Hey guys, it's Rachel, and I want to teach you how to make a basic map. So we're going into Data Analysis 1, Assignment 2, which says right there, Making Basic Maps. So you have learned how to download Tableau. Here we go, Tableau. You have done Assignment 1 with Shaheen over in Sheet 1. We've moved on to Sheet 2, still using that same data, the FBI crime data. And it's basically just step by step. Here I am to help you along the way. It's really cool to learn new filters. So you've learned how to make graphs in that first assignment, but we're going to start moving on to filters so you can actually see how to analyze the data. It's cool because Tableau can analyze anything with a city and state. As long as you have that information, then you can analyze. So I hope that you really enjoy this and that you learn a new skill. So Tableau will do all sorts of really cool things. With the map that we're going to make in here, you'll see a lot of dots, and we're going to learn what those dots mean. So starting with step 1, on a new sheet, we're going to drag city and state onto the data pane in the middle of the sheet where it says drop fields here. So that is right here. You can see that we also have a couple. This is the columns, and this is the rows. You can also see that up there. So later on when you learn how to do things, you can either drag it there or you can drop it, like drag it there or there. You know, there's all sorts of different ways that you can do things. So first, we'll drag that over there. If you recall in here, it says you can also double click. So we will double click city. Remember, Control Z does undo. So you can double click, you can drag, you can try all sorts of different things. It works out the same. It's just a matter of preference. So find what you like and stick to it. So let's see, what's it showing you? Well, not really very much. It's showing that these cities, all these little dots here, have data in this crime data document. So we're going to start to analyze. Right now, we're going to be looking at violent crime, like it says. So marks card and filters card. This is the marks card. This is the filters card. You can see that here in a screenshot as well. And they help you to figure out like how to narrow down the data. So moving on to step 2. Drag violent crime onto size on the marks card. So we remember here, marks card, you look and size. Boom, there it is. So violent crime onto size. All right, so that looks pretty different than what we saw a second ago. And let's see, first of all, we can hit Shift and drag the map over, as the document says. And then we can zoom in. So we see a bunch of dots. So what are these dots telling you? Basically that the bigger dots, like this one or this one, these have more violent crime than these little ones here. So let's hide this part, show me. So, okay, first of all, the bigger dots mean more violent crime, sadly. Let's go in. Let's just look. Okay, so for like Cutbank, Montana, there's 24 violent crimes. That's, that's significant. But let's go back to New York City, 49,124. So, okay, let's see what's it asking us to do here. You can click on the size of the marks card. So we go back over to size, and you can adjust the size of the dots. So the bigger you get, the more they kind of blur together, and then it's really hard to tell like what is actually happening over here. So we want to do, I like about like that size, looks good to me. It's pretty clear which 4 are the biggest. So we have New York, as I mentioned. This one's pretty big. Chicago, 30,126. Then we go down to Los Angeles, 28,817. This one is also pretty big. Houston, 23,960. Wow. So remember back like one of these little guys, 0 there, and that's nice. This one's a little bigger, 467. So you can tell a difference by hovering. It gives you that information if you just hover over. So let's go back over here. You can refer to the legend on the right-hand side to interpret what the sizes of the marks mean. There's not actually a legend here. So let me show you how to get it, just in case we haven't updated this document by the time you get this. So we're going to take violent crime, move it up to filters. We'll select the all values and next, and then just hit OK. Then we'll go into right click, show filter. So you can do this with any of the things over here that you want. Same steps. And then you have this that he was talking about in the document. You can adjust it that way. So as you know, okay, look, there now we're down to those 4 that I mentioned. Wow. Okay, so going back, which cities have the most violent crime? Well, we have narrowed it down to those 4 cities. Next, we're going to drag the population onto the filters card. So we're going to get rid of violent crime here. Boop. Just drop it back. Now, population onto filters, like I just showed you. All values, next. And we want to make this 500,000. This will help to eliminate some of those little cities. So you can type it, or you can move it. I find it's easier to just type it. It's very precise that way. Hit OK. All right, so you can tell automatically that all these little dots, all these little occurrences are gone. I mean, sorry, not little occurrences. The cities that have a smaller population than 500,000. So here we know our 4 biggest cities. Over here you can tell that this is kind of blurring together like I was talking about earlier. So you can either play with the zoom feature or you can change the size. We'll make it a little smaller so we can tell. You can see here there's DC, Baltimore, and Philly that kind of blur into that. Over here are some other big ones. This one's pretty big. Indianapolis, Detroit, that one, Memphis. Even this one looks pretty big, Phoenix. So you can see like they're kind of clustered together, the population, like in these little areas. So that's interesting to start thinking about some hypotheses. So back to our instructions, we have, let's go back to our legend. So show filter. So here you can compare cities. Oh, look at that. So these 2, Los Angeles and New York, have a similar population. We've narrowed out the other 2. So, okay. Let's take it back all the way down to what we started with. Now, play around. Look at your state, your city, your surrounding areas. Okay, so I am from Virginia. And let's see. I live in Newport News, Virginia, which is down here, kind of. Zoom in. Whoops. In, not out. And I zoomed all the population out because I know that my town doesn't have that many. So here, violent crime 848 in Newport News. This is where I'm from. You can tell that some of these little cities actually have more violent crime. Norfolk, 1,616 versus like this one is smaller than my town. Poquoson only has 20. So, I mean, there's a significant amount over here, but it's not nearly as high as New York. Let's look at kind of up by DC. Back up. Oops. That's what happens if you don't hit shift. All right, so DC. Shift it one more time. So there's only one dot here in all of DC, which basically tells us that the crime data is for one latitude and longitude. It's just one coordinate. So all of the violent crimes, all 7,711, show right here, although they're throughout the city. Now, we can also see like there's quite a bit over here in Maryland and not very much here in Virginia. So you could just think about that, like, well, why would that be the case? So this is what I would hypothesize is that this is more high income, more upper middle class. This is probably lower income, like you can tell these don't have an enormous amount of crime, but there's still quite a few. Like all these little cities are next to each other. They all have quite a bit. And over here, all we really have is Alexandria and Falls Church. There's not much else, but this is more back to Maryland. So later on, you're going to learn how to do more filters like income. It would be really interesting if you wanted to go in to see if I'm right on this, but we don't want to do that right now. Don't want to give you too much for now. So let's see, what else can we do to play around? You can change the color. I don't necessarily like blue. Maybe I want some pink. You can look at the marks. We're currently under circle. You can see what happens if you change it to like bar. Well, that does not work. You can change it to, let's say, line. That does nothing, right? So for this, we want to keep it as circle, probably. To rename, you can see up here, we're just sheet 2. You can right click on the sheet, rename. I'll rename this R. Malpasso assignment to DC. So here we want to make sure we have assignment 2 in the title, and then we'll save it to the cloud. So file, save as, and it'll ask you for your sign-in information. So you don't have to sit here and watch me do all of that. I hope that that makes sense, and I look forward to working more with you soon. Enjoy assignment 3. Bye.